There we are. Good afternoon to our friends around the globe, and welcome to another segment of Groove Swing Speaks, ladies and gentlemen. We come on each and every Tuesday. It's 4 p.m. on the West Coast, 7 p.m. on the East, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Got a very special guest on tonight, and that is our dear sister, Dr. Leone Lettsome. And why don't we do her a proper introduction? I'm going to let Brother Robert Hicks do the honors. Robert?
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 112 of Groove Swing Speaks, and it is an honor. I just feel so like humbled to be able to introduce this sister right here, and I will definitely go into the best details possible. And if not, she knows where to find me, so she will strike me down. Anyway, here's the background. Dr. Leone Lettsome, MPA, is a nationally recognized public servant, scholar, and community advocate whose career spans more than 2 decades at the intersection of government, public policy, and grassroots impact. Raised in Pasadena, California, Leone's journey from the classroom to the halls of the municipal government is a testament to what happens when academic rigor meets a relentless commitment to people. One of the things that Dr. Leone is a proud graduate of is GSU, Grambling State University. And she earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology with a minor in Psychology, followed by a Master of Public Administration, all before the age of 30. So you know she has smarts on her. In 2010, she was awarded a doctorate in higher education administration, completing a dissertation entitled Black Female Faculty's Perceptions of Inter-Race and Intra-Race Relations at Historically White Institutions. Man, that's how it makes me want to go out and read that and pick that up. I need to pick that up. Research that continues to resonate in conversations about equity, representation, and belonging in higher education. Professionally, Leone has built a distinguished career in public administration, serving as Deputy Director of Grants for the City of North Las Vegas and Federal Grants Manager for the City of Raleigh, where she directed a $72.3 million federal recovery program. Her work has spanned community development, public health, housing equity, and human services, consistently focused on ensuring that the most vulnerable members of our communities are seen, served, and supported. She is also a sought-after nonprofit consultant. Dr. Leone has worked alongside a wide range of community-based organizations to design programs, develop fund strategies, and build operational infrastructure needed to sustain long-term impact. Her consulting work is rooted in a deep belief that strong nonprofits are the backbone of thriving communities. That is the truth. One of the Dr. Leone's most personal impacted areas of expertise is the design of homeless service programs, having worked directly with individuals in encampments, doing the outreach, coordinate interventions, and connecting with people to support and resources. She brings both the street level empathy and the policy expertise to build programs that work. She has designed and administered homeless services initiatives that center around dignity, meeting people where they are, and creating real pathways out of the crisis. She also has served as Deputy Director of Health Services for the Economic Opportunity Board of Clark County, Nevada, overseeing 3 community health clinics. He shaped the Family Development Program at Urban League of Las Vegas. And I will say she is also the 9th National President of Swing Fi Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated, where she brought her signature blend of strategic vision and servant leadership to a national stage. And for one, I can tell just by her work in the organization itself when she was national president was phenomenal. And it only continues to grow from there. She is a passionate advocate for African American women in higher education, for equitable access to public resources, and for the kind of leadership that shows up in the community, at the table, and on the ground. She brings warmth, wit, and hard-won wisdom to every conversation, and she's not afraid to tell the truth about the challenges and triumphs of building a life of service to others. She's also a very amazing person where it comes down to being a model for Black women in all communities and something to strive for. If you want to see the model, here she is right here. May I introduce to you the one and only Dr. Leone Lettsome.
Hello, hello, hello. Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm truly humbled.
There's a lot to unpack
give,
there.
give respect where respect is due.
Thank you.
And welcome to the set, my dear
Thank you for
sister.
having me.
I think we spoke when we had the station was in Southern California. We're going back, what, wow, 5-6 years ago, maybe? And we had a program called Groove Talk Radio. And I was introduced to you by our groove brother, T. Air Van Meter. Unfortunately, he can't make it today. There's a 3-hour gap.
Yes.
You know the difference. You grew up in Pasadena. And hopefully, Nikia, Sister Nikia
Yes.
Watson will join us as well. So thank you. There's a lot to unpack. I read through your bio myself, and it is quite impressive. And I want to ask you, where did this journey start? It was read that it started in the classroom, but where did that motivation, that fire come from even before then? What drove you?
I'd probably say it's just a passion for serving people. I think it started probably when I was about 7 years old, and I saw my first homeless person living on the street. Being that I'm a Gen Xer, I was a latchkey kid, and I would have to come home by myself. And, many Gen Xers know that story about having to kind of take care of yourself. So I was walking home one day, saw someone on, kind of on the ground with no home, holding a sign stating that they needed food. And I remember not having money in that moment, but I was like, oh, I can at least make something for this person to eat. So I ran home, made what I could, and then brought it back to them at 7.
At 7.
Wow.
Wow.
And I remember thinking that people shouldn't be without family. They shouldn't be without housing. They shouldn't be without resources. And I think that was probably the seed that planted everything for me, although I didn't know that my journey would be what it is now.
It's quite extensive and quite impressive. And not only have you done the desk work, behind the scenes work, but you've also gone out in the field, because I've read something in there that you have worked directly with people that have been unhoused or that don't have anywhere to live.
Typically, when I operate programs and projects, I like to not only design the program from a policy perspective, but also ensure that the programs are effective by being kind of a grassroots advocate and being the boots on the ground person. So I may design a program, structure it, and then I'm also going to be part of the team that's implementing it.
Mm-hmm. I read also that Director of Grants for the City of North Las Vegas and Federal Grants Manager for the City of Raleigh, where you directed $72.3 million a federal recovery program. So your grant writing started where? How did you train to write grants? Because that's a skill in itself.
Yeah, I don't even know that you can really train. I feel like I fell into it. Initially, when I graduated from Grambling with my master's degree, I thought I was just going to become an executive director of a nonprofit organization. Actually, that was my ultimate goal. So I started working for one of the largest nonprofit organizations in Southern Nevada. And I quickly moved through the ranks there, working as a deputy director for health services, administering federal programming through health initiatives, and running 3 community-based health clinics, one focusing on HIV, the other on maternal health, and another just general wellness and care. And that organization had been in the community for about 50 years. And due to some, not necessarily malfeasance, but just some fiscal mismanagement with grants, the organization in its entirety went defunct. And I remember thinking in that moment that we need nonprofit organizations that are strong, that have the capacity, that have the ability to sustain programming in the community, because local government can't do it by themselves. And so when I had the opportunity to go work for the city of North Las Vegas, I kind of did a deep dive into
Mhm.
understanding grants from the other perspective, not just receiving grants, but how federal grants are administered and the Code of Federal Regulations and uniform guidance. And I just dove into it. And so that's kind of how I became familiar with federal grant programs and grants as a whole.
Mhm.
And from there, I
Before I
just start
toss it back,
working with nonprofit organizations to kind of strengthen them.
great, great. Before I toss it back to Robert, I want to ask one
Mm.
other question. Then when I'll come back, have you seen like the fruits of your labor, and how has that impacted you?
Um, as far, I would say that I do, as far as the individuals that I work with in
Mm.
these organizations, I can tell that, through my work, that programs have been developed. There's been housing, housing programs that were developed in the community that I lived in before. One that's still there now, the Shannon West Homeless Youth Center, which was created with me and a cohort of individuals who worked in other municipalities.
Mhm.
So I noticed it with the individuals that I've worked with to create programming and to strengthen organizations internally. And I guess to some degree, some of the things that happened with Swing during my tenure as president as well.
Okay. And I want to say something to our audience. If you like the program, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, Facebook, obviously, and also Instagram, as well as the app. If you don't have the app, you're missing a treat. You can go to your Apple App Store and download a Studio W. The same with Google. If you have an Android device or Google device, Android device rather, Studio W is just that simple. The website is Studio W. Buzz, Studio W. Buzz, and these are programs that we need to hear. And the type of work that you do is to be applauded, my sister. Robert.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And one of the things that you also, when you mentioned that you have a lot of, it shows your street empathy for the people. You really care about the people who you interact with, which is an amazing thing. And one of the things I noticed that one of the topics that we were talking about was about homelessness, and I did a little bit of like quick research and understanding within a 2024 study. It showed that about 771,480 people were considered homeless. But within
Mm,
our community, it was, even though the Black people are about 12% of the US population, we make up about 32% of the homeless population. So almost one in three
Mhm.
are homeless. What would you say is a great way to be able to make sure that we become more effective in being able to address the items of homelessness wherever we are in our communities? And how can we basically, if you, how can we able to battle this and be able to reduce the number?
Well, I think that question is extremely layered because there are multiple variables that contribute to a person being homeless. Um, Now we can look at it from a cultural aspect, or we can just look at it from an environmental factor, the environmental factors that impact homelessness today. So if we look at it from a cultural factor, we know that other cultures, and particularly of the diaspora, their families stay together. So they contribute resources to one household. I think being an African American, we've become very individualistic. So families don't live together like that anymore. And so a lot of that is contributing to, in the fact that, a living wage, people aren't being paid a living wage.
mhm,
I know at one point the stat said that in order for a person to live off of minimum wage, it would probably take three people living off of minimum wage in one household to be able to pay what the average monthly rental rate is currently. Um, so there's already a disparity there, right? And so
Right.
we know that we have to pull together our resources, or we have to make sure that there's a more livable wage for people to be able to pay rent and just be able to sustain themselves. Because when you talk about the resources that are necessary for someone to thrive or survive, you're talking about housing, you're talking about food, and you're talking about hopefully sometimes transportation. But when you're living in a rural area, then transportation becomes another quagmire where it's challenging to get around. And if you're just working a minimum wage job, then you may not have the resources to pay for that type of transportation, or to even pay for an Uber on a daily basis to get back and forth to work. So I think first of all, pooling resources together, if families can stay together as long as possible, that they stay together, that we create affordable housing units, and housing units that are sustainable, and also create a pathway for people to acquire employment that goes beyond minimum wage.
Yes, I do agree. But I remember hearing, I believe it was another radio personality was saying that time to bring everybody back home, and that way, that's the ability to be able to bring in all of our resources together and help each other out. So definitely, that was a great word. Thank you, Sister Doctor. I know I use that term a lot, but that is definitely putting the respect on a sister.
Absolutely.
My next
I
question is,
appreciate it.
you're welcome. Now, in your bio, it says that you're originally from Pasadena, California. And you mentioned a little bit about your life and growing up. And now, as you go from California to Nevada to North Carolina in that pathway, or how did
Well,
that go?
no. So so I am a first generation college graduate from my family. And so initially I spent my first year out of out of high school in California, because my parents were afraid for me to go beyond the walls and the borders of California. So I went to San Diego State for about a year, and then I transferred to Grambling. I did an exchange student program. Grambling at the time had an exchange student program with schools in California. And so you can go try a HBCU for a semester or two and decide whether you liked it and transferred or not transferred. Excuse me. So I convinced my parents to let me try Grambling for a semester, and they agreed, thinking that I would only be there a semester. And as soon as I hit the yard, so to speak, I knew I wasn't coming back.
That environment, you basically were drawn to it, and the culture, and
it,
all the people.
it
Go
was
ahead.
the culture I was looking for. I had primarily attended schools where I was always the minority, and I took a lot of AP and college prep classes where probably there was only one or two people who looked like me who were in the classroom. Excuse me. And I knew that I wanted a different college experience. And so when I had the opportunity to go to Grambling, I took the opportunity, and I saw so many people who looked like me, but who had different experiences. Um, and understanding that we weren't a monolith, I think, was inspiring to me. And it wanted me to dive more into that aspect of the lived Black experience.
Mhm.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you for that. And so, anybody out there who is considering an HBCU, give it a shot. There, one, because of the sense of the experience that you will receive. Two, you also would be able to be a part of a really strong community. Now, I didn't go to a HBCU myself, but I've been around various different campus HBCUs and understanding the real camaraderie amongst the students as a whole, and just the vibe of the schools as well. And they also focus on higher education, because we do have a lot of professionals who do graduate from HBCUs. And that's what's important as well. So thank you.
Well, I think particularly because I was coming from California, which is in and of itself an extremely diverse space. Um, I needed that experience. I'm West Indian. My mom is from Belize and my dad's from St. Thomas. So although I did have an opportunity to experience the Afro-Caribbean, Latin Caribbean, you know, diaspora, I still needed that African American
Mhm.
experience, and I needed some grounding in that because I don't think that I would have had the type of appreciation that I do for the type of work that I do now had I hadn't had that experience.
Absolutely.
I've always been a fan of Grambling myself. I went to an HBCU. I went to Virginia Union University, and I was a music major. And I played in the marching band, the classical band, the jazz band, and I just love Grambling. Never had a chance to step foot on that campus yet, but I absolutely love it. I love the marching band there. I can understand this experience, coming from your background and coming to Grambling. I wouldn't have left. I wouldn't have gone back either. I could see you staying there. I understand that. And I noticed that I read something also that you received your doctorate in higher education administration, completing a dissertation. And I really want to untie this, right? Title:
Mhm.
Black Females Faculty Perceptions of Inter-Race and Intra Race Relationship at Historically White Institutions. Unpack that for us a little bit. What drove you to write that, and what were you thinking when you wrote that, or when you did that dissertation, rather?
Well, I think it was the juxtaposition of my experience attending San Diego State and then my contrasting experience attending an HBCU. So I wanted to explore the lived experiences of Black women attending historically what I people call them PWIs, but I refer to them as historically white institutions because I look primarily at Ivy League institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I interviewed individuals who not only attended Ivy League institutions, but also were faculty members there, to gauge their experience and what the on-campus culture experience was for them as faculty members and or students.
And I noticed also we talked about this when Robert gave you that introduction, uh, and how you recovered $72.3 million. What was that all about, and whether that money, after when the money was recovered, what was the money used for?
Well, it it's called the recovery fund
Ah,
because
okay.
yes, yes, because it was funding that was issued to various communities to help mitigate the effects of COVID, and
Mhm.
the city of Raleigh received $72.3 million. And at the
Okay.
time, I was not working for the city of Raleigh. I was actually recruited to operate that program. I was working for the state, running their HIV hop. It's a housing program for people with HIV across the state, in all 100 counties. I was running that program for the state, and a recruiter, which I didn't even know people did, a recruiter reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in helping the city of Raleigh get this program up and running. And they told me the amount of money it was and what some of the objectives were. And so I looked into it, and I saw that one of the primary objectives was to make sure that historically marginalized communities didn't miss out on this funding. And
Mhm.
so as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, this is my calling to transition in this direction to ensure that this funding is spent appropriately. And so I started working for the city of Raleigh and developed the policies and programs for the city of Raleigh around that particular program, designed some additional programming
Mhm.
that would utilize that funding. I designed a capacity building program for nonprofit organizations because, again, that's my one of my passions. So that smaller nonprofit organizations who wouldn't historically receive federal funding could build the capacity to receive the federal funding and operate it in a manner that would be acceptable to the federal government and within a compliance standard that would allow them to continue to receive federal funding.
Mhm. Now, with the money that you recover, or the money that you write the grants for, the money that comes in, how does that affect the families directly? Is it in like maybe after school programs? Is it like maybe further education? Does it go to these homeless people, or these people, unhoused people? Does it go to them directly, or are these programs that can help them maybe get a better education or get a better job? how does it affect them directly?
Well, it depends. Um, Typically, there is an umbrella, a tiered umbrella of different types of programs that can be designed and that the funding could be utilized for. So it all depends on the alignment with the strategic plan for the municipality that's receiving the funding. So if homelessness is a initiative for the city, then more than likely funding will be targeted towards homelessness. If housing is
Mhm.
an initiative, then they'll look at developing affordable housing or some type of subsidized housing that the money could be used for. If
Mhm.
youth programs are that, then they'll create youth service programs or fund youth service programs, existing youth service programs with the funding. In this instance, some money did go to departments to stand up some of the existing programs. We had to, of course, design programs to help target and mitigate some of the effects of COVID. And what they thought was the biggest impact was the economy and small businesses. So we did a
Mhm.
lot of small business programming, creating outlets to help strengthen small businesses so that they wouldn't feel the impact of COVID. So that was we did some outdoor eateries so people could still have patronage and people could sit outside and they didn't have to worry about sitting inside. We did some small grants to small businesses and nonprofit organizations. We did do some homeless service activities. And there was just a myriad of programs because if we didn't spend the money, we were going to end up giving it back.
I
Um,
see. Right, right. Doctor, our doctor sister Miltrain Brody Newell was on last week, and
mhm.
her work is similar to you. Do you, both of you, do you collaborate? Do you talk together? Do you work together on any capacity at all?
I've met her a couple of times, but we haven't worked together in any capacity as far as creating programs or implementing a grant program.
Yeah. Well, she was on, and like you, it was excellent. It was a great experience having her on because to know that you ladies are out there doing the footwork, a lot of work that other people don't do. A lot of people they'll get their education, they'll get the job, and they don't give back like to the capacity or to the degree that you are, like selflessly. You go out there, give your time and energy and stuff. And when do you sleep with everything that you have going on? When do you sleep?
I'm a night owl, so maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, you might find me
Oh,
sleeping at
that's
three
great.
o'clock. So don't call me between 7 and 9 because I'm probably still sleeping.
I understand. I understand. Robert, what do you have?
Absolutely. One of the other things that you were mentioning about mentioned about nonprofit organizations, um, in a sense of it was when you had worked with your because you are basically a consultant. How did you become a consultant with a lot of the with nonprofit organizations?
Initially, it started, I was doing consulting for the federal government, reviewing various grants that they were issuing to the community. So I do grant reviews for them and
Mm,
an analysis of grants through various federal departments. And from there, because of the quality of the applications that I read at times, I saw that there was a need to expand my consulting services and actually offer services to nonprofit organizations, not only just to strengthen their grant applications, but to strengthen their capacity to run programming that would be funded through grant. So that's kind of how I got into that. And from there, lots of swings and grooves have reached out to me and asked me for assistance and consulting assistance, and that's kind of how it happened.
Excellent. But also knowing that you had worked with being the director of the federal recovery program, you know where's you're a lady that definitely knows how to organize, obtain, and manage money to the right in the right manners. That is definitely that shows it from what you've been in some of your work.
And
Um,
people have trusted me to do that. I think that's more important.
that,
That's even
that,
more important.
that
People
could
have
be
trusted me to do that. So I'm also humbled by the fact that people have given me the opportunity to do that, and that I've been able to execute in a manner that made the program successful and where the funding was targeted where it needed to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, excuse me. So one of the things that I had a question about, since we're on Group Swing Speaks, I have to talk about Swing Five Swing Social Fellowship
Yes.
Incorporated. How did you get introduced to that, and um, tell me your experiences with it for the next generation who might be interested.
Okay, so I am a charter member of the Grambling State University Swing Chapter. Um, so this is going to be interesting because a lot of people that you all know are involved in this story. Uh, so was at Grambling State University. There were only grooves on the campus. A gentleman named Third Eye was on campus. A couple of
Mm-hmm.
other people that are well known throughout the fellowship, and Tier.
Dear. Yeah.
Yeah, Tier, who just happened to be my best friend at the time when I was at Grambling State University, by the way.
Very cool.
Yeah. So they told me a couple times about, swing and how they have a sister organization and I might want to consider it. But and I don't want to age myself, but I'm going to have to say the internet wasn't really popular. People, I didn't have an email address. There were a whole bunch of factors going on. So I was like, swing, you guys just made it up. I know there's groove, but I never really heard of swing. Coming from the West Coast, I really wasn't as familiar with D9 organizations or social fellowships. Again, I'm the first generation to graduate from college out of my family. So it wasn't something that was prevalent in my family or that I was aware of. And so one summer, a sister named Solandra Dean reached out to me and said, well, the brothers keep telling me about you. And if it's something that you want to do, you could come stay at my house during the summer and we could help you join the organization. And I was like, I don't know you. That's what I was thinking. I don't know you. I'm not going to go stay with you. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But luckily for me, a dynamic young lady named Tamika Domino, who happens to be the vice president of Swing right now, spent some time away from the campus, joined Swing, and came back and started Swing on our campus. So she's actually the founder of Swing on Grambling State University's campus, and I'm part of the charter line. Yes.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Shout out to Tamika. Definitely, and
Yeah.
you definitely. It's also very important because whenever you're the charter line of at a school, that means a lot because you set the foundation for everybody else to come afterwards.
Right. So I came into the organization with 7 other dynamic young ladies. So we're a line of 8. And our name is And the Emmy Goes To, because we were highly dramatic, if you will. A great bunch of ladies, though. Very dynamic group of ladies who are doing some fabulous things in the community. So,
what number were you on the line?
I was number 7. I am a number 7, I should say.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So my line sisters are a lot shorter. I know I don't look that tall, but there's some shorties.
That's okay. That's okay. It says you're a past national president, and you currently sit on the national board of directors. So
That's
you're
correct.
still very much active and involved in that. Let me ask you, the 9th president. Well, let's see. 9th president of past Swing, where she brought a signature blend of strategic vision and servant leadership on stage. Overall, and I'm sure you met many swings throughout your career. How has swing impacted your life?
Well, I think swing has greatly impacted my life. It gave me more of a focus. I think career
Mhm.
wise, just the tenets and the things of that nature that swing puts before us to either internalize or do what we will with, I think helped to further shape what I knew my direction was in life, right? To me, it was just divine alignment. I looked at other organizations on campus who kind of gave people an identity to be. And I saw people kind of changing their persona to join those organizations. And when I looked at Swing, to me, it was already a reflection of who I was as a woman and who I planned to just continue to evolve into being. And so I think in that regard, it's just kind of helped fine tune what I was going to do and where I was going to go in the trajectory of my life. Um, I know I stated earlier on that I wanted to be the president or CEO of a nonprofit organization. Did I know it was going to be Swing? No. But Swing did help me meet that goal, right? I did become that for Swing. And I was very blessed to be able to bring my knowledge, skills, and technical abilities to Swing to help further her history and her life. So.
Mhm. I see that you are a sought after nonprofit consultant. How do people know about you? How do they? I mean, it has to be more than word of mouth. We do have internet today, so I'm sure that's the way of getting it out.
I,
But how do
yeah,
people
right now
reach?
it is word of mouth. It's essentially word of
Hmm.
mouth, and
Oh,
and
okay.
I get a lot of people telling a lot of people. But I'm only one person, and I don't run my business with anyone else. And so at this point, I'm really considering, like, when people present ideas and projects to me, I'm even at a point where sometimes I have to turn down some projects. And so again, it's a passion of mine, so it's not what I plan to do consistently full time. I'm doing
Hmm.
it because I'm trying to help smaller businesses and nonprofit organizations be successful.
Hmm.
So,
Well, Ed, I tell you, like you have, like you said, you get your bachelor's, your master's, and also your PhD. And I noticed something earlier that you have a minor in psychology. It seems like everything that you've done as far as your academics are concerned seem to have fit into what you're doing now. How do you link those? How do you feel about that? Because it seems like you use every tool in the toolbox.
divine alignment. It's definitely divine alignment. I feel like there's this aspect of who I am that's deeply spiritual. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel
Hmm.
that, the universe will outline what you're supposed to do. You just have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I started working for the nonprofit, I remember calling my mom. Okay, so because I really hadn't had a history working for nonprofit organizations, my first job was working for it was still the Economic Opportunity Board, but it was their Head Start program. And I remember thinking, I enjoy working for Head Start, but I really need to grow my capacity to do something bigger. And then the same organization, the Economic Opportunity Board, had a job advertisement out, and it was for the Deputy Director of Health Services. And when I read the job announcement, it was like someone took everything that I had done and everything that I wanted to do and put it into a job announcement. And I remember calling my mom and saying, Mom, I like, did someone pray over me really hard when I was a baby or something like that? Because this thing that's happening, unfolding in my life right now is just amazing to me. And she was like, yeah, well, your grandma did pray, or she prayed a lot over you when you were younger. And I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe that's it. But then I had a series of what I call mystical experiences since that time that just lets me know that when you're moving how God has designed for you to move, though everything will be in alignment, and it will be the story of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's kind of how I see it. And that's probably why you're reading it like that, because that's really how it's unfolded. I
Right.
just follow what I'm ordained to do.
No, right. Hey, that is so cool. I remember when I started this radio station, I had no idea what I was doing. We're going back about some 13 years, 12, 13 years now.
Mhm,
And I'm saying, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing here.
mhm,
And so everything seemed to have fallen in place, with the music, the talk shows like we have in here
mhm.
now, and things of that nature. And it's really has been a blessing. Give us a feel. Let me rephrase that. I'm sure you have some stories where someone has come back to you and say, Leone, you helped change my life. I'm sure of that.
Absolutely.
Hey, give us
So I can
those.
tell you one. Uh, so
Please.
so I left the city of North Las Vegas because I felt like I hit a glass ceiling. I was doing what I was doing, and I was doing it impeccably, and I had my network was amazing. So much so that nobody thought I was going to leave Las Vegas. Even, to this day, people are still like, "You really left Vegas?" Yes, I really did. Because Raleigh was calling me. Nonetheless, I'm in Vegas. I'm working the job. I'm making all these connections. The mayor. I'm constantly working with the mayor and senators and the governor, and I have this breadth of political resources in my hand, so to speak. And I'm like, okay, but there's something else for me. There's something else that I feel like I did everything that God has assigned me to do here. And so now it's time for me to go to Raleigh. So I come to Raleigh, I'm working for the state, running the state HOPWA program. I get recruited by the city of Raleigh. Then my old job says, well, can you come back, and we have this grant program that we started, and we want you to kind of help us build the structure and kind of hammer out some things here. And so against my better judgment, I said, okay, I'm loyal to a certain degree. Let me go back and help. So I get there, and my second day there, one of the young ladies who's in this newly formed department says in the staff meeting, she's like, I don't know if you remember me, but you impacted my life. And I looked at her face, and I really didn't remember who she was, but I kind of went along with her story. She said, I came up to you one day when my dad first started having his issues with dementia, and you sat down with me for 2 hours and helped me find programs that I could use to help him. And I utilized those programs, and it helped extend his life. He's no longer here with us now. She was like, but what you did in that moment was important to me because it gave me more time with my father.
Wow.
And yeah, it's my second day on the job. So
those are heartwarming stories there. I really love that. And it's great when when someone comes back to you and says, thank you. You really did something for me. What has been, in your opinion, one or two of your greatest accomplishments?
One or two of my first greatest accomplishment is clearly giving birth to a dynamic, wonderful, intelligent, handsome son who is now in dental school at Tufts University.
Whoa. Whoa.
So that would definitely be my number one accomplishment. He is phenomenal. And my second greatest accomplishment would probably be, I'm not sure. I would probably say leading swing and having the opportunity to lead swing.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Have you considered running for national office? I would love to see. Okay, let me just cut to the chase. I think you should be a United States senator, if not higher. I would love. Have you ever thought about politics? Have you thought about doing something like that?
You'd be the 10th person who's told me that. The person who consistently says that to me is a fellowman named we call him affectionately Kunta, but his name is Cedric Fuller, and he always says that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of our congressmen and women and senators, they're in it to get a paycheck. Okay, they say, well, I can get $175,000 a year and do hardly anything. But you seem like somebody that will hit the ground running, coming out there. You have an idea what needs to be done, and we will campaign for you. We would definitely campaign for you.
I will consider that.
Just a thought. Okay.
I will consider it.
But I think that this government needs more people like you that are not in it for themselves, and they go out of their way to make sure that everybody else is okay. Robert?
Yes, absolutely. I would probably say the one thing that you definitely are is personable, in the sense of the way that you come across with people, your heart, you're no nonsense when it comes down to doing business, but it also resonates as well with your personality as well. How do you think that and you said is that also in the sense of divine alignment, using the gift that you have to be able to help others?
Um, I think so. I think part of I used to always say, and I don't say it as much now because I don't have a lot of conversations about spirituality. I used to say that I felt like part of our purpose here as humans is to assist each other, to make the world a happier place without tainting the happiness of others. Um,
Mm.
and so yeah, I can be a little hard nosed at times, and at times it makes. I also say people either really love me or they really don't like me. There's no in between, for me. They love me or they don't, and
Wow.
sometimes they can't decide which one it is. But I I feel like I'm consistent, and yeah, I am no nonsense, but I'm direct. But it's coming from a loving place because I want the best for people, I want the best for our world, and I want the best for the community.
Absolutely. And you are, as you're living in Raleigh, North Carolina, are you also that you're involved with the Raleigh graduate chapter of Swing in that area?
Yes, Raleigh.
Okay, okay. Wow. This is so cool, man. This is really cool.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yes. Because
Yeah,
well, also,
I actually
Sister,
just joined the Raleigh graduate chapter last year.
fantastic, fantastic. It's important to be able to, for our sisters and brother and fellow out there, to make sure that you take a look and find a local chapter wherever you are to be able to build a bond together, but also at the same time, you want to be able to show them the impact that we all have within the communities. And
Yeah.
speaking of which, wanted to shout out to Sister Tiffany Hilliard says that she says hello. She couldn't be on the show this evening, but she sends her
Hola,
love.
sis.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, we want to say, sending our love to our executive producer who keeps us all in line, Sister Rock.
Wow.
Without her, I don't think that any of this is possible. Um, we are deeply indebted to her, and we definitely love what she does. It helps out, and we just want to send our gratitude. That's what it is. The gratitude
Yeah.
that we have, especially, and also the idea of her attitude as well, the positive attitude when it comes down to helping each and every one of us.
Yeah. Big Ola to rock. Yeah.
Rock
Yes.
is outstanding. She's amazing. I have yet to meet her in person,
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
we'll talk once or twice a week as you know, it's almost I already know her. She does keep us together. And Robert, you're so correct. This program would not be what it is without her. She keeps us organized.
Mhm.
She schedules all the programs. Matter of fact, I think that she has us booked up until July.
That
She's
is
just
phenomenal.
amazing, amazing. And then I found out now, Nakaya Watts, she said she may join. We knew that Tiffany I couldn't be here. And today is Tanisha's mother's birthday. So we knew that. And so I was trying to beg Rock, I was trying to goat her into coming on because she's a great speaker as well. She says, no, she likes staying behind the scenes, staying behind the scenes. And like I
Yep.
said, which leads to my next question for you.
Mhm.
Rock is very well organized, and you seem to be. I don't think you could be as successful as you are without being organized. What do you have to say about that?
Blame it on my OCD. That's the way I use it.
No, you are organized. I admire that. I struggle with that sometimes. That when I get organized, when I sit down and organize myself, I perform better. And
Mhm.
there's something to say about being organized. How do you say that your organizational skills and being organized, how that has helped you be successful? Can you kind of speak on that a little bit?
Um, because my mind naturally is thinking about a million things at the same time, I have to be.
Uh,
Um, I
yes.
carry around a notebook. I used to carry around post-its, and I would write down, like every time I had a thought in my head, I would write down what I needed to do or a list of
Mhm.
things that I needed to accomplish. And every time I would accomplish it, I would kind of like check the boxes, and then it felt good to like crumple up the post-it and throw it away once I completed the task. But that has evolved into like this notebook that I always carry with me. It's in my vehicle. So as soon as the thought comes in or something that I need to do, I'm constantly making a list of things that I need to accomplish. At the end of the day, I make a list for the next day. Um, it just helps me flow. It
Mhm.
might be, I don't know, it might be a bit much for other people, but that's just the way I stay organized, and it helps my day flow better. You know,
I tell you what, and it keeps you from getting a headache too, instead of thinking about it. Because I'm a writer,
mhm.
whether it's poetry or writing the lyrics to a song or something like that. And I remember, when you lay down at night, you get thoughts and things like that. And I said, "Oh, I'll write it down tomorrow." But guess what? It never comes.
Yeah, you won't
You need
remember.
to write it down again. That
Yeah.
is a very, very important point. And it helps everyone. I mean, anyone who wants to accomplish anything, you have to be organized. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate that about you.
I'm
Tell
a
us.
writer as well. So, and at Grambling, I used to write. That's how people knew me, because I used to write poetry,
Mm,
and I would do spoken word and perform spoken word. A lot of militant spoken word. I don't know if you guys recall the Def Comedy Jam era, but like that was my
Oh
goal
oh,
too.
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go on Def Comedy Jam. I'm gonna get one of these to hit, and I'm gonna
right, right.
go. Um, but I never did that. But I have performed plenty of times in local venues. And then,
Mhm,
once I got out of Grambling, I just stopped writing creatively. I do more technical writing now, so that you'll find my creative writing style more in my grant writing and my policy writing and things of that nature.
mhm, mhm, mhm. And what are some things that we talked a lot about? The things that you do working wise. I mean, your business and things of that nature. What do you do for leisure?
Um, I I like organizing. that's what
That's
that's
not
what I
leisure.
do. It is. Like creative wise, I like crafting, but things around organization. So
Okay.
color coding things, painting.
Oh.
Occasionally I'll go hiking or do some yoga, but I'm really into like interior design and interior organization.
Hmm.
So I've been redoing my whole entire place, new wallpaper, new paintings, new everything.
And
Um,
you're doing it all yourself.
I've enlisted some people who I've voluntold, but outside of that, outside of that, yeah. I mean, the design element is all me. The execution may not be all me.
I understand. I understand.
There you go.
Okay.
And
So,
you met one of my close girlfriends last week, Dr. Sophia Hoskins.
yeah,
Oh, not
yes,
Hoskins anymore, but Dr. Sophia, Dr.
Dr.
Sa.
Sophia. That's who it was.
Yes,
That's who
Hmm.
it
yes.
was. Okay. Yes. Outstanding. I absolutely love that. Love that. Love that. As a matter of fact, we have another show. Well, I engineer it.
Mhm,
It's one that we started about 12, no, 10 years ago, and it comes on Saturdays. And Dr.
okay.
Sophia will be on that particular show. I don't know exactly what day it is,
Mhm.
but I think you would love the host of the show. She's a family court judge, and she's out of Arkansas, and she's
Oh,
had a
okay.
show on my program on my network for going on
Mhm.
10. This is her 10th year. And if it's
Wow.
okay with
Okay.
you, I would love to pass your information on to her. You would love her. She would
Of
absolutely love
course.
you. Yeah.
Of course, of course. I'd
And
be more than happy to do that.
maybe you can talk her into being a swing too.
I'm still trying to work on Dr. Sa. It's one person at a time.
Oh boy, let's do that. Let's do that. I can't believe we only have 6 minutes left to go on the show. Robert, what else do you have? And then we're gonna come back to our dear sister.
Um, the one final thing that I see here is a quote that you have here: 20 years of turning policy into impact, one community at a time.
Mhm.
That
Mm.
is that where did that come up? Is that your mantra? Is that a vision statement? What is that to you?
Yeah, I would say that that helps keep me focused. So oftentimes if someone is interviewing me for a consulting opportunity, I'll say something of that nature, because I think the challenge is sometimes policy seems extremely nuanced. And when it comes to grant administration or federal programming, a lot of the time the
Mhm.
the execution can be streamlined, and it doesn't have to be so confusing and complicated. So I found a way to really understand what I call government ease or the federal regulations and simplify it for people. So
Right.
so it's not that much of a barrier to creating programs that have impact, because if you're not being impactful in your program, then eventually they're going to take your funding away. And then if they take your funding away, then the community is not being served. And the objective is to ensure that those who are historically underserved or marginalized communities are served.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that those communities are targeted in the most positive and impactful way. And so in order to do that, you have to make sure that policy is aligned with direction and impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would definitely say that you and the continued success, and this is going to lead to something even bigger and better, because there's always an
Yep.
opportunity. There's always opportunities that are, as long as you continue on in your purpose, as well as anybody continues in their purpose, there is always a guarantee that the door is going to be open to something that you might not even expect, but is going to give you an extraordinary life. There's that blessing that comes from above that will
Absolutely,
be
absolutely.
dropped on you, that you won't have enough room to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
That's that.
Do
Walk in
you?
your purpose.
Yeah. I say, Dr. Leone, is there? Do you care to contact or provide some contact information? And we'll put it up on the screen right now for anyone who wants to solicit your services uh, or reach out to you for whatever reason. Is there
Yeah,
information that you'd like to
absolutely.
share with us?
So most of my consulting contracts are obtained through LinkedIn. So you can find me at Dr. Leone Lettsome at LinkedIn. And if you
Mhm.
message me there, then we can schedule some time to go over whatever your program or project is and see if I'm a good fit for consulting for that particular project or activity. And that's where I usher most of my consulting contracts,
Mhm.
or
Okay.
people who are considering consulting contracts, through LinkedIn.
Yep.
Other than that, you can find me at Doc Leone's Life brand at Instagram and Doc Leone at Facebook.
Is that Doc DOC?
DOC, yes.
Okay, very good, very good, very good. And don't forget what I'm saying about you running for Senate. But you know what? I'm thinking right now, let's shoot for higher. Let's shoot for president. That sounds really good to me.
I'm good. I'm good on that. Let me work on councilwoman, mayor, then we could
Uh,
see.
yeah,
Assemblywoman, perhaps.
yeah. Okay, okay, okay. I still think that you could shoot for the moon right now. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying because I love your uh, the way you detail and you plan out. You have a plan. You've been successful. Let me put this information up right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. What does he have? Doc Leone's life on IG
Hmm. Hmm.
or Leone Lettsome on Facebook as well. That's on Instagram and Facebook, ladies and gentlemen, and LinkedIn. I'll put the LinkedIn information up right now again. But would love to see you on the national scene. I understand I understand that you're organized and it takes time to do things right there, but I believe that you're ready now because I look at what we have now, and I
Hmm.
look at the expertise and the brilliance that you go about your business. Yeah, I think just one man's opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion.
I appreciate it. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
we have 1 minute left to go. Would you please
Okay, so
share
can
with
I?
us?
Yes, I just want to say I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my brother, who I love dearly. He is one of my closest friends too. Fellowman Ahmad McDougall, who is the president of Groove Fi Groove. That is one of my close friends as
Yes,
well. So Ahmad, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention you. So I love you, brother.
we do too. Outstanding, outstanding leader. It's no question about it. Outstanding. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, and
Mhm.
he's been great. He's been supportive of the station. As a matter of fact, we post weekly on the Groove Swing Speaks Facebook page, about upcoming shows of that nature. Wow. One last thing. Let's say we're out of time, but I want you to please answer this or please comment on this. Is there anything you would like to share with our global audience that we failed to ask you?
Um, Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. I do want to emphasize the importance of mentorship and ensuring that whatever knowledge and skills and abilities you have, that you take someone who is of the next generation under your wing and kind of mentor them so that we can really have the next generation who are empowered and feel that they can accomplish, what more than what you're doing. Because we don't want them to be like us. We want them to be better than us. So I think just if I could pass anything on to anyone, it's just make sure that we're always keeping mentorship at the forefront of our minds in all the things that we do.
Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. And with that, Dr. Leone, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you come back, and I will pass your information on to our Saturday morning host. And we also have a talk show on Sundays, and perhaps you'll get it. We would like to have you invite you there as well. So thank you. It's been an
Oh,
absolute pleasure.
and
Robert, you're about to
I
say.
just had one other thing as well, because this is also provided for us. This is the Dr. Gwen K. Newsom Foundation for Mental Wellness in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is an event that's going to be officially launching this coming Saturday, March 28th, 2026, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Christian Faith Baptist Church. And this is, I'll put the information up here as well. But this is going to be a regional initiative dedicated to expanding across for mental health resources, increasing education, and advocating for culturally competent care. This is an event that's be followed by a community health fair with mobile wellness buses and local organizations providing mental health resources. And it's led by Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated. Of the 5 North Carolina chapters will be equipped to serve as community advocates for suicide prevention and mental wellness. So once again, is this Saturday, March 28th, 2026, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Christian Faith Baptist Church in, it's in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I will put this information up here as well.
Okay.
So that you have an opportunity to come out, meet some of the sisters, but also being able to make sure that you become better in your mind as well as all over your entire wellness as well.
Okay. Dr.
Absolutely.
Leone, thank you so much. Anything else you want to share with us before we exit?
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, my dear sister, for coming on. And Brother Robert, brilliant as always. Thank you so much, my friend. Always a pleasure. Guys, I want to say thank you. Another epic episode of Groove Swing Speaks. Come back and check us out next Tuesday, 4 p.m. on the West, 7 p.m. on the East, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. In the meantime, enjoy your Tuesday. Lonnie Listen Smith and the Cosmic Echoes. Chance for peace. Good night, everyone.
Give peace